Hello, and welcome to our brief tutorial video explaining how to access and use the SFPE Virtual Handbook for Fire Risk Assessment and Mitigation. In this video, we'll help you understand how to use the workbook to conduct your property assessments. This handbook was made possible by a grant from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency. Using engineering-based resources, this handbook was developed primarily for use by firefighters and fire departments operating in the wildland-urban interface, but can also support property owners, property inspectors and assessors, community leaders, and other stakeholders. This handbook is intended to complement any existing programs, policies, or procedures for conducting wildland-urban interface risk assessments and community outreach and engagement. The handbook can be a tool to initiate a risk assessment at both the individual property level as well as the community or neighborhood level. Those who may find this handbook useful as a reference for conducting property assessments include fire services, including fire inspectors, fire marshals, pre-planning committees, emergency management personnel, community outreach program managers, and fire prevention specialists, Community Wildfire Protection Plan Committee members, FireWise community members, state cooperative extension programs, leaders of local, state, or federal government departments and agencies, residential property owners, or other stakeholders. First, you'll need to access the handbook. To do so, visit www.sfpe.org/WUI handbook, which you can do on your desktop computer, a tablet, or your mobile phone. Should you wish to download and print a PDF of the handbook, you can do so by clicking the Download PDF Handbook button on the top left. For more information on navigating the handbook, please watch our video entitled Using the Handbook as a Training Tool. Once you've accessed the handbook, you're ready to use it to conduct property assessments. Please note, the handbook is organized in 3 parts: structural hardening, defensible space, neighborhood and community level hazard mitigation. Individual property owners can review their properties using the handbook by themselves or with the assistance of fire department personnel. Homeowners will then understand how and why to implement the recommendations within the handbook for their homes. These 3 sections are intended to complement each other and could be considered akin to a 3-legged stool. The first leg is structural hardening. This is where homes and outbuildings are evaluated to see where heat, flames, or embers can potentially penetrate the home. The handbook guides users to look at roofs, chimneys, skylights, solar power systems, gutters, joints, siding, windows, doors, decks, and foundations, while offering potential solutions to reduce the risk of fire spreading to the home through these various housing elements. The second leg is the defensible space around the structure. Yards are often a homeowner's pride and joy, but in the wildland-urban interface, they can also pose a path for fire spread and ignition from embers. The handbook guides users to evaluate the types of plants and trees in their yards, their location and spacing, and the importance of yard maintenance. Likewise, other combustible materials in the yard, like stacks of firewood, gazebos, or lawn furniture, barbecue grills with propane tanks, or vehicles and trailers, can also contribute to the fire spread or be ignited by embers. By creating a series of defensible zones around a home, the goal is to limit opportunities for fire spread, reduce pathways for the fire to move from one part of the property to the structure, and limit combustible materials that can ignite from firebrands and embers. Implementing durable, low-cost, enduring mitigation measures can lower the wildland fire risk for a property in the wildland-urban interface. Yet, using the first 2 sections of the handbook and implementing the recommendations at a single property may be insufficient unless neighbors and the larger community are also proactively mitigating the wildland fire risks. That is why the 3rd section, neighborhood and community level hazard mitigation, is the 3rd leg of the stool. The mitigation measures across a community and neighborhood are admittedly more complex because there are more stakeholders to engage. The handbook can help the community review the location and topography of their community relative to wildland fire threats to help them evaluate if critical infrastructure, including firefighter infrastructure and firefighter access across the community, is adequate. Vegetation management across the entire community may be more challenging due to multiple owners involved, including individuals, businesses, and even local, state, or federal government who control adjacent lands. All the landowners and managers need to be involved in the conversation about vegetation management. Information about using the first two sections of the handbook, structural hardening and defensible space, is discussed in greater detail in another video in this series, using the handbook to engage with property owners. Using the third section of the handbook, neighborhood and community level hazard mitigation, is explained in our video entitled Using the Handbook to Engage with Community Leaders. Thank you for watching. Please take a few moments to view our other tutorial videos that accompany the Society of Fire Protection Engineers virtual handbook for fire risk assessment and mitigation.